Hey, what's going on, Gooners and Goonerettes? Welcome back to Arsenal transfer news. So there's a little bit of an anomaly of a day today we've had when it comes to Raphinha from Leeds. Officially, guys, there's been no agreement with Barcelona and Leeds. It's quite clear the player wants to go to Barcelona. And it's quite clear that he has talked to Arsenal in terms of conversations with Edu, but Arsenal seem to only be a second option for the player. Now, Arsenal are in direct negotiation with Leeds, and apparently that's been going on since March. But what we do know, obviously Chelsea and Tottenham, they've been in contact with them too, and Leeds have turned around and said they're talking about 60 million, and that's kind of their ballpark. I don't think they'll take 60 million for the player. They probably would take 50. But the fact of the matter is, where things are right now, Arsenal are very close to signing Raphinha after making a great offer to Leeds. And we were told that Barcelona are out of the running because there hasn't been contact with Barcelona and the player's agent in weeks. But here's the official thing now. If Barcelona do come back in contact with Raphinha, it's quite clear that they're going to be the front runners to get him. If they don't call him, then Arsenal's going to be there as an option for the player. So for an Arsenal fan, I think that this is messy, guys. I think this is another situation. Remember Vlahovic? Vlahovic, Arsenal went all in on him. Once Juventus made that happen, the player was gone. So if you're dealing with someone like Raphinha, he has to want to come to here first. If that is not in his ballpark, if Arsenal are not his first choice, honestly, guys, I would just let him go. It really doesn't matter. I know some people treat it as a coup, and I know some people would talk about the fact that Chelsea and Arsenal and Spurs are after the player, and if Arsenal bag him, that is job done. But if the player's got a heart to leave and want to go and play in Spain, somehow Barcelona have to try and make it happen. And if that's not the case, this thing is going to drag. This is the reason why things drag, is because there's not that consensus between the player and the team and the agent. And when you get things like that, it gets messy, it gets long, and it goes all the way through the summer. If you guys do want the player and you want to pull one up against your rivals, then by all means, let Arsenal go in for him. But it's not going to be pretty, guys. Arsenal would have 3 of the top 10 Premier League most creative players in the team. And that's not even including Fabio Vieira or Gabriel Jesus. That's not even talking about those guys. This is just the fact that they could have Raphinha, Saka and Odegaard in the same team. So creativity would be going off a scale. You can see the amount of passes. I'm a bit concerned about the fouls. I did tell you guys 7 yellow cards last season is a bit much for me. But you can see in terms of what he can do when he has the ball and how he can create. And this is with Leeds, guys. What you have to remember is Arsenal have a lot more creative players in their team. So that gives him the amount of space to move around and not get double teamed and focus on with other clubs. That's the issue when you have clubs like Chelsea, Liverpool and Man City. Those teams, the players are allowed to flex their muscles and they're allowed to sort of have the space to do what they want because defenses are keen on other players. But when you get teams like Arsenal and you get teams like Spurs and then West Ham and other teams like that, you don't have much creative players. So the ones that you do have, teams are focused on them. This is how Liverpool were able to knock Arsenal out of the League Cup when they doubled Odegaard. We didn't really have much to offer outside of that. Now, with Arsenal flooding their team with all these creators, you can see how that will affect the actual play. It will just open up a lot of lanes and avenues for other players to have great games. Now, Raphinha the year before was Leeds' leading man in terms of goals outside the box, assists, chances created, dribbles and passes played into the box. So this was before last season. So I think you can see here you've got a good creative guy and Arsenal are front runners, looking really to hear something tangible for that in the next few days. Speaking of the next few days, guys, the announcement for Fabio Vieira at Arsenal is imminent. The medical and photo shoots have already taken place, so get ready for an update on the website with interviews. Fabio Vieira has also been listed as an official Arsenal midfielder on the Premier League page and app, so he's already been logged with the FA, so really looking forward to seeing him in Arsenal colours instead of that horrible blue and white. Let's welcome the guy in wearing red and white instead. And Gabriel Jesus, he is also close to completing his switch to Arsenal, since Man City, who had valued Jesus around 50-55 million, they've made an agreement between them and Arsenal, and that is expected to be reached and agreed in the next few days. Arsenal did have a bid believed to be around 30 million rejected, but a structured deal and an increase, including performance-related add-ons, has pushed that evaluation much higher, and that's the reason why we're looking at that deal being agreed in the next few days as well. Also, Arsenal will go with everything they have to sign Lisandro Martinez. There's a lot of teams that are in for him now. Chelsea and Spurs have inquired about the player, but Arsenal are preparing a second offer for the player, since they are willing to offer the 30 million after Ajax rejected a 25 million bid earlier from Arsenal. Now, let's talk about Eddie Nketiah now, guys. Eddie, you guys know, my guy, yeah? Just call the brother if you need goals. His number 14 shirt was displayed with Edu after signing his new deal. And I want to talk about that a little, because Arsenal fan base, some of them are in meltdown, and they really have to understand that this is just a number. Yeah, the shirt had largely been associated with attacking players of late, yeah, Aubameyang, etc. But that hasn't always been the case. Anders Limpar, he wore the number. Eddie McGoldrick, he also wore the shirt. And in 1993-94, it was Martin Keown that had the number. Now, if everybody remembers their history, Thierry Henry, his number was actually 12. And he had regularly wore that for his previous clubs and for the national team France. He wanted 12 at Arsenal, but the number belonged to Christopher Rain. He had 12, and Henry didn't want to take it off him. So, look, he had to settle for 14. Now, Keown had it for 7 years, Henry had it for 8 years, but the longest serving number 14 that we had was Walcott. He would wear that number for almost a full decade before leaving Arsenal for Everton in January 2018. I remember when Theo joked that he's got Thierry's shirt number and that he isn't going to get it back. And he actually told him that as well. He actually said that to Thierry Henry as well. And Walcott never disappointed, guys, with over 100 club goals that made him one of the highest scoring wingers in the Premier League for that span, before the likes of Salah, Song, Mane and Sterling and Mahrez. Now, Aubameyang, he liked two numbers as well. One was number 9 and number 7. And the Gabonese forward told Arsenal TV in 2020 that Lacazette had number 9 and Nketiah had number 7. So he had no choice but to go for number 14. So that's a little bit of history behind the number, but guys, it's just a number. And what it does is it just infuses Nketiah with the power of scoring goals that previous players have had before him, just in the same way it did for Theo Walcott. So really looking forward to seeing Nketiah shine. I really do hope he has at least 20 starts this season. I really do. I really hope he gets some major minutes for the team. Also, guys, there's been a release on Arsenal's goalkeeper shirt for the year 2022-23. Now, you guys can see it looks kind of like somebody that we know who's a Marvel character. I'm talking to you, Mr. Ben Grimm from the Fantastic Four. You can see these lovely orange scales, and you can see the kind of stone inputs in the jersey. Really gives it a little bit of flavour. But that's what I'm going with anyway. So I know Ebony Kingston's going to be happy about that. I can't wait to see the other colour. I believe the other colour is going to be green. But the orange just looks really good. So really happy to see that as the goalkeeper's shirt. Also, just a little bit of loan activity, guys. Arsenal defender Harry Clarke has joined Championship side Stoke City on a season-long loan. So he's going to be off getting some much-needed game time in the Championship. And it's really where we would like to see some players like Tavares as well. Just put him with a team, let him play out the season and see how he does in that division. Because that division, guys, is a grind. It's tough to be in that division, and you really get a feel and flavour of what it's like to play British football in at a good level as well. So listen, guys, that's it for me, and really looking forward in the next 48 hours for another new signing to come in. And when it does, I'll update you here on the channel. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Peace out, guys.